So today I wanted to make a video. What is that? What the hell? Whoa. So I literally had no idea that there was that many people trying to learn how to speak Dutch. I am totally blown away by the response that I had on my last video. A lot of you have reached out and said that speaking is the most difficult part of language for you. And I know for me, it was exactly the same. I found it so intimidating to be at a barbecue or a party or in a conversation with Dutch people where I was the only English speaker and I never knew what to say. I didn't have the confidence with the language yet to use it. So I wanted to make a video on the steps that I took to start speaking the language with Dutch people. If that sounds like something you're interested in, then keep on watching and I'm going to share all of my tips with you. So the first thing you want to do is find a language partner. I know a lot of you currently live in the Netherlands, so this shouldn't be super difficult for you. You can practice with friends, perhaps even your husband or wife speaks the language, and you can set aside some time in the day to sit down and only speak Dutch with each other.
Hello.
If you don't have ready access to someone who speaks the language around you, like I said in my last video, you can always use italki. This is a fantastic platform for finding and connecting with other people that speak your language. You can opt to be taught by a qualified teacher, or you can opt to just have conversational practice with community tutors and the like. I have used italki to do language exchanges with people who were trying to practice English and I was trying to practice Dutch, and then you swap each other's language. You can set this up so that you do 15 minutes in one language and 15 minutes in the other, and then that's half an hour of practice and both of you have gained something from the conversation. When starting out your speaking practice, always practice in an environment where you feel really comfortable. Don't practice at a party for the first time where you're going to feel overwhelmed, you're not going to be able to follow the conversation very well, and you feel so intimidated that you probably won't practice at all. Control the situation and practice with someone who's going to take the time to practice with you, and an environment where you can get feedback straight away and take your time when you're trying to think about what you want to say. Now that you've found someone that you're going to practice with and you've set aside the time that you're going to practice your language, you want to prepare for the session. So come up with some pre-thought about topics that you would like to practice talking about, and then look up the vocabulary for those topics. Now, I use Anki as a really good way to practice my vocabulary and prepare myself for a conversation. You can tailor the topics to things that interest you so that you're also learning language that you would use later on anyway. Anki is a really easy program to use, and it's really easy to customize any decks. You can have decks for general vocabulary, but then you can also create specific decks for topics that you'd like to study. Pre-learning some of the keywords of your topic will, 1, allow you to cement the information in your head so that you really learn it and learn how to use it in context, but 2, it will give you a guide to use when you're about to have your conversation. You don't want to just jump in and then be talking about something that you don't feel comfortable about, because then you'll end up reverting back to English. And this used to happen to me a lot at the start. How many times have you been speaking in a conversation and then a word comes up or a topic comes up where you don't have any words for it or any knowledge about it, and you revert straight back into speaking English? It's super frustrating to have put all this study into all these keywords and all this vocabulary to come across a topic that you have no idea about and then start speaking English straight away. And I feel like when you're having a conversation, once you've said a sentence in English, then everyone else picks up on it, and then the conversation ends up being in English anyway, which defeats the purpose and stops you from learning any new words. So to stop this from happening, what I would suggest you do is rote learn a couple of sentences that allow you to fall back on them instead of falling back to English. One of the first sentences I would learn would be, how do you say blah 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 in Dutch? Now this would translate to, hoe zeg je blah 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 in het Nederlands. This would be my ultimate word, and I still use it all the time now. If I'm talking about something and I've forgotten a word, or I don't know the Dutch version of the word and I only know the English word for it, then I can say this sentence and whoever I'm talking to knows that they can correct me and give me the word that I'm looking for instead of both of us switching back over to English. Another one of my go-to sentences would be, can you please explain that using other words? This is a good one if you've understood most of the sentence or the gist of what they're saying, but there's a couple of words in there that you don't really understand, and maybe if they used other words, you'd have a better idea of what they're asking you. This in Dutch would be, kan je dat uitleggen met andere woorden? And this is a good way to tell the person that you are having some trouble with some of the words they've used, and again, they will more likely explain to you in Dutch instead of reverting back to English. Another really good one would be, can you speak more slowly? This is really good if you're finding that someone is speaking really, really fast, and I do have a couple of friends that also speak really, really fast, and you're trying really quickly to listen to what they're saying, translate it in your head, and reply before the conversation has completely gone by. This sentence in Dutch would be said, kan je wat langzamer praten? If you've heard a new word and you don't know what the meaning is, you can use this sentence to target that word, and then you can later add it to your new vocabulary list. This sentence would be, what does blah mean? I haven't heard that word before. This is said in Dutch as, wat betekent blah? Ik heb niet eerder gehoord. If you found that the conversation has gone to a topic that you have no idea about, something quite difficult like politics or economics and things where your vocabulary may not be up to scratch, you can always use a fallback sentence to divert the conversation back to something that you're a little bit more comfortable with. A sentence like, I don't know many words discussing blah blah blah, maybe we could talk about blah blah blah. This would be said in Dutch as, ik weet niet hoe ik over bla moet praten, kunnen wij niet over bla praten? And you would just insert the topics that you're not comfortable with and comfortable with accordingly. Now, hopefully with these life-saving sentences, you can keep your speaking practice going instead of falling back to English. That is the key to making the most out of your speaking practice when you're learning a target language. With enough speaking practice, you'll be speaking with Dutch natives in no time. Now, in the beginning, it might be really handy to have all of these sentences written out in Dutch, and you can use them in front of you if you're doing some speaking practice at home with a partner or a friend, or even a lesson on italki. But eventually you want to be able to remember these sentences in your head so you can actually use them in the real world and when you're having real conversations with people on the fly. And lastly, I know it sounds super corny, but have fun. You're learning a new language. Take the pressure off yourself. There's no expectations, and no one expects you to be perfect except for you. So don't be too hard on yourself, and remember to have fun. Record your progress so that you know that you really are getting better at speaking your language that you want to learn. Lastly, I hope that these tips have helped. I hope that you all go home and practice speaking with your friends and your partner and recording your progress. If you learned something new or you're feeling motivated to study, please give this video a thumbs up. And in the comments below, let me know how long you've been trying to study Dutch for. If you're interested in this kind of content, subscribe. I'll be bringing a video out next week. And if you have any questions regarding any language learning, again, leave them in the comments below and I'll try and make a video about it. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.